At conference, you already have done events, you know how the things are done. It's more about updating yourself of the new rules, the new bylaws, the new changes in processes, and hence what we do in conferences in World Archery also is we try to update, make our judges aware about the new interpretations and new laws or bylaws which has come into effect since the last Congress. As some of you might know, Congress is the place where your existing bylaws are voted to become laws, and if there are new bylaws, they are presented. Besides the exec board, they can be also presented during the Congress as well. So what we have tried to do here is maybe some of these interpretations or bylaws you will see you know already, because since the last Congress that happened in Berlin in 2023, we have summarized a lot of it in here. Now, few of this was already in effect last year, so some of it, like I mentioned, you might already know or might already be implementing on field. It's just about summarizing everything that has happened till now and present it in front of you. So the first one that we start with is kinesiotaping. There was a question previously asked which was around, first of all, how many of you are clear about what kinesiotaping is? So kinesiotapings are, you might have seen a lot of the athletes going around with pink strips on their arm or on their leg with blue strips. Those are stretchable, muscle relaxing tapes. The difference from regular tapes is if I'm taping my arm with a band-aid or a regular tape, that's just a cover. These are actually stretchable muscles which actually takes the tension from different parts of the body where they are applied. So they do have a supportive mechanism for our muscles. That's what those tapes are. Now, does this mean this interpretation is just focused on the tape? No. There are modern t-shirts available from Puma, I think, that I had seen, and there are a couple of other companies who are providing kinesio t-shirts, which means they are tight, they will contract with your muscle, and they will take some part of the stress of the muscles in the t-shirts as well. The rule that in archery, the previous rule which was there was taping is allowed. Now, there was an interpretation as well which definition of taping. But when those rules and definitions were given, at that point in time, sports medicine or sports physiotherapy was not that evolved that kinesio tapings were present. That's why we had raised a request to clarify from the sports medical committee if those tapings are allowed, and it's a majority of the decision. Those kind of tapings or those kind of t-shirts are allowed unless and until they are rigid in nature, that they prevent normal flexible movement of the joints. Some of the kinesio tapes also comes with rigid structures that if I am having it my grip or in my wrist or my shoulders or my bends, they will prevent any kind of flexing of my wrist. That is not allowed. So taping or compression shirts which is using kinesio technology is allowed as long as they are not preventing natural movement of our body. Making sense? The next one is around sports leggings. It does not come in our jurisdiction directly, but the reason we had to raise this is there was no proper definition of, we had this definition in our dress code that you can't have something which is shorter than your knees and all that, but leggings have been something which is controversial because we have not traditionally allowed leggings earlier. and it's something which is adopted by sports world for running and other things. So there was a question that was raised, not by us, but by some other committee, whether sports leggings will be allowed or not. So whether we like it or not, that's a separate question, but now sports legging has been allowed by the board. So I think everyone is familiar with what leggings are. Yeah, right. So you can, and with the new change of the wordings and gender neutrality in the rule book, we don't have any more his, him, or her, or she. So now everything is theirs. So men, women, irrespective of anyone, everyone is allowed to wear leggings in the field of play. If someone has observed the Paris Paralympics, you will realize that the Australian, the national uniform of the Australian team was leggings, which even the men who were shooting there were wearing throughout the event. Shoot off for entry into eliminations and determination of final position if athlete does not turn up. So there was a question which was asked, like, if we do not have, which we are talking about, right? We have the morning session and the afternoon session, and then we have a shoot-off, and if the morning people are not there. So basically the rule, the shoot-off was supposed to happen that time, but what we had requested is the thing that I was explaining, can the shoot-off happen on a different day? And that was officially launched this time through the interpretation. That's what we discussed, and that's what we have implemented. The next one is scope allowed in the coach's box in finals if athlete or team does not have a coach present? The reason this came into effect is last year. When was the youth championship? Do you remember? Last year?
I think
it was last year, 23, yes. So last year we had the World Youth Championship in Ireland, and some of you might be aware that World Archery has a rule. If there is too many officials on the field of play, they are kicked out of the field of play, and if they still try to come back in again, then you have a suspension for the officials, first for the day and then for the entire event. Meaning the team will be there, but there will be no coach or manager who will be allowed to go in the venue. Now, if this happens during a qualification or a ranking round or an elimination round, this means your athletes, if they enter the final stage of the competition, they will not have a coach or a manager to go with them and stand in the coach's box. And hence was the question raised, athletes are not allowed to carry scopes. How do we go to spot the arrows? Because athletes are not allowed. I don't have a coach or a manager, so there is no option. The ruling here is, if we don't have a coach and if we don't have proper video screens where we can see the arrows, only then will we allow to have a scope in the coach's box even when the coach is not there. So after I shoot an arrow, the other team member can go to the coach's box and see where the arrow has landed. Now the question is, yeah, but the video screen is there, it's not always showing the target, it might show something else. Yes, but that's how the rule is and that's how we implement it. Now, to take care of this, an easy answer is we stop taking scopes in the finals venue or the finals field, but we never stop archers to carry binoculars. So if you want, your archers can carry binoculars to the finals field of play if they don't have coaches. No one is going to stop them. The next one is This is the other one around clarification in presence of athlete without their equipment. So this is the case that we were talking about. We are there, we have just one arrow. Are we allowed to shoot? Or we are there, we have forgotten to bring anything along with us. So are we okay to start the match or discuss at least like who starts shooting? That's where the interpretation has come in place, and this had happened in, I think in 2022 in the Mediterranean Games or 2023 in the Mediterranean Games. I forgot which year it was, but that's where we had a lot of debate, and finally this interpretation was brought into picture. We had a long discussion about this, so just to summarize and help you remember that again, if it's the simultaneous shooting, when we are starting the match, you need to be there with all your equipment. If being present means present with all your equipments for simultaneous match at the start of the shoot, or else it will be forfeited. For alternate shooting, when the match is being decided, being present means being physically present. Now you might not have your equipment at that point in time, but when the match is starting, and starting means the marshal is telling us, okay, now you can go in the field of play. The introductory part starts, not the start of the match. So when the marshal is leading you to the field of play, at that point, if you don't have your entire setup with you, then it's forfeited. Okay, split cables. I think in the morning you were showing or David was showing? David, you were showing the cable, yeah. So the picture that David was showing in the morning where the stopper was there and it was touching the hand. So that similar kind of a thing happened last year, and hence from one of the countries there was a interpretation request is what does it mean, because there's a word called consistently touching the arm, and this word consistently has become the issue of everything. What does it mean that you are consistently touching? To give you a background, and this does not affect our judging, to give you a background why this was told is you are shooting the bow, let's imagine you are at full draw, and like you saw in the picture, it's touching your arm, starting from the drawing of the bow till you release the bow. Consistently touching? Yes? No?
Yes, of course.
Of course, perfect. You are drawing the bow, it's not touching or anything. Just before you release, it touches your arm and you release. And it's happening not in one shot, it's happening repeatedly in all the shots. Is it a consistent touch?
Yes.
How do you see that's a consistent touch? That's why this point was highlighted. Because as a judge, we are not looking, and this is in qualification round, so we are not looking just at one archer all the time. That was what the entire mess was about, like what does it mean to say consistent? Because so far we have been like, while we are drawing the bow and releasing, is it that entire duration of the bow or that entire duration of the shot it's touching our hand or not? Full draw, yeah. So after a lot of discussion with the technical committee, the target committee, or yeah, I think the target committee was there. So with the technical committee, judges committee and everyone, this was said like step one is throughout the draw if it's touching. Step two is if we see it's touching suddenly for a fraction of a second during the release, we observe again and again, and if we find it happening again and again, because some of the countries said like even if it doesn't happen again and again, but twice or thrice, even if they're touching it, they might have an additional advantage of stabilizing the bow for a moment. But technical committee has given the justification. First of all, it's not possible to implement this checking of, let's say, 200 archers every second, every time. So we will go by what's possible physically to check. So if we see someone suddenly touching, we observe twice or thrice. If it's not found in those 2 or 3 times, we move on. We don't consider it consistent. Then if we are seeing it's consistent, what's the action? The action of the judges have been cleared out over there. First, if we see it consistent, we warn the athletes that this is happening. If they don't correct it, and after some time we see them repeating the same thing again and again, then we apply knowing the rule or breaking the rule knowingly. And that can lead to a disqualification of the athlete. Of course, if we see this, we inform the chair or the deputy then and there so that they are aware that this has been done. And if a disqualification is in process, they are the one who are enforcing the disqualification. As judges, we should not be taking up disqualification in our own hand. We should always be reporting back to the chair and having this implemented or having the disqualification carried out by the chair. Okay, so there have been some changes on, the things, okay, there are few of the that I have highlighted in red. The reason for keeping them in red is for Asia, my understanding and my feeling is we might not have that big importance for those changes. It's good to know, but it's not, it will be not something that you need to focus at this point too much with your attention. That's why I have kept them highlighted in red. There has been changes in the way we were giving the foot locators, the length of the pegs for the foot locators and all. I don't remember the exact numbers. You can see the exact numbers in the interpretation, but just to highlight, like, there has been some changes from that perspective. Now, permitted use of a visual draw check indicator. What's the rule about clickers that we have? Only one allowed it, okay? Tactile or visual and audible. Yeah, so only one of those, right? And now you might be seeing a lot of the archers at the top level are actually putting their clicker on the sight, not on the bow anymore. The idea here is, if you look at it, there is a metal piece and there is a moving piece, right? So you can see this moving, right? You have the arrow, you have the clicker, so the arrow moves and the clicker glows and click, right? Now it's moving, there is no bow here. So it's free air. Normally what happens, your clicker is the clicker hitting the metal in the bow, right? Now you don't have the bow here, so it's a visual movement. But it's a visual movement, right? Let's imagine this is, you can see it's quite long, right? So you have your fingers. It's right in the middle of the grip, so it can come and touch. I haven't reached there, but I'm just trying to explain to you guys what it is. So it's, can I consider this tactile? So one is tactile, right? And there is a sound coming from here, right? Acoustic. What was the logic? Or what was the rule? One. So is this 2 or 1? So that's what that's why this interpretation was brought into picture. What is the definition of 1? The idea is 2 indication at 2 different points is what is the restriction, that we can't have 2 different indication. It has to be 1 indication only. Because there are multiple different indications, but at the same time, hence the limitation or the restriction of more than 1 does not apply here. That's the change. So shoulder blade, yeah, shoulder blade we will discuss later when Carla goes for the para. Visual draw check, we are done. Further clarification on the meaning of camouflage. So, like we were talking about, the biggest challenge Uh, we have been trying to clarify these rules for a long time. Finally, what we have ended up saying, anything that's used in military is not allowed, straightforward. In military, yes. And the new interpretation that has come out, you will see there are a lot of pictures which are given to provide examples of things like blue, orange, digitals. Yeah, those being made allowed, because the previous definitions of camo used to say like it's a combination of color and design and everything, and that made it very open for people to say certain things which even was clear that it cannot be a camo. So for instance, if I'm talking about, let's say, a blue jacket with different shades along with patterns of, let's say, grass or leaves on it, it can still be considered a camo if you're talking about being used in Navy or somewhere from military, and the word camo comes from that military concept. But that made our life difficult. So what has been now said is those elements have been made allowed because we are shooting in the field outdoor. Is it something that's going to hide the athlete from the visual range? The answer is no. So the concept of camo is as long as it's not going to hide you or not going to let you be seen in the field, we go ahead and allow it. That's why the new interpretation which has been released, there are pictures and images which has been given, which kind of helps us to get a better understanding of what equipments or what devices or items we pass. Let me see if I have a picture.
Indranil, just a question.
Mm-hmm.
So we are saying that we should know the intentions of food. But what is the intention of camouflage not being allowed?
What I said right now.
Because even in the equipments, if there is a piece of camouflage, what is the intention of saying in this piece you are having a camouflage and we are not allowing it?
So the entire idea of camouflage came from getting hidden. Like, we know sometimes you keep the bow in the ground and everything, right? And if it's hidden, there is a danger of people stepping on it. If I'm talking about being out there in the grass, being out there in the fields, like when we are shooting more for field and 3D, it's not just one small piece, the entire bows can get disappeared. So it's more from a safety perspective, and then definitely from the media representation perspective, like it gives a very wrong image of the sport that it's connected with combat, which we want to avoid and dissociate. That's from where this entire thing is coming from. And because it was going too much broader in restricting camo, hence we are now trying to say certain of the things are allowed when we know, like, you know, it's a borderline thing. Like I was saying, like if you go in the actual interpretation, you will see there is a cap, which to me, personally, again, to me, it kind of felt camo, because if you can use that, or if you use that in hunting in US, I'm pretty sure in autumn with orange trees in the jungle with yellow leaves, if you go, it will definitely, that cap will definitely get mixed. But we have allowed that because we are shooting in green grass. There is no way an orange cap is not going to be visible in a green grass situation. So those boundaries we are now trying to fix up. So the reason I was trying to show is, if you can have at time, just have a look at this picture. The Canadian coach, the National Olympic Committee had given this as a part of the uniform. The cap of the Canadian NOC, it actually is a very good example of camo. You can see it, but it's bright red, and the leaves on that, that's their national, like, emblem. Yeah, the maple leaf. So you can't go there and say, sorry, it looks like a camo and it's not allowed. Denims are not allowed very clearly. Denims are only allowed when we are shooting field and 3D because we are out there in the bushes. We are going around where you can have twigs or you can have some branch coming out where you might get a scratch. So that's why for field and 3D during the qualification and the elimination phases, we allow it. But as we move to the finals, even in field and 3D, we don't allow denims.
Because most of the media people themselves, they come in the denims, and that's exactly where we get caught. We are not allowing them inside. We tell them go away.
So for media, camo and denim, of course, we try to control that. But that control we can do as long as it's a World Archery or a World Archery Asia event. If it is a multi-sport event, even there, we do not have any control over that. At Paris, we had so many photographers, and you know, these photographers are shooting in jungles, so they have camo tele lenses. Their bags are camo, their trousers are baggy and camo both. We just turned a blind eye towards them because you can't control how many, half of these photographers have paid IOC to get a broadcast or media pass so that they can enter the venue and take pictures, and then they might sell that picture, and that's their living. So there is no way where they have paid money, we go and tell them, sorry, we are not going to allow you because it's not IOC rule, but it's World Archery rule. So in those cases, even we turn a blind eye to that. We need to understand applying these rules, on whom we can apply these rules, and on whom we can apply these rules, and in what context we are applying these rules. Even there are situations when even you as a chair, you will know that you are not seeing certain things on the field of play. We all are knowledgeable enough to know where we can enforce and where we don't see. So that was all that we had covered in interpretation. Now for bylaws. The changes that has come into picture. Target face setup for mixed teams or doubles. This was understood previously. So from after the end of the qualification, we are moving into elimination, and we have a shoot-off for, let's say, the 16th or the 24th position, depending on what we are shooting. So it's a shoot-off. Like we discussed the other day, the shoot-off is either single target for individual, or for the team, we were talking about the ABC setup, 3 faces for compound. A, B, C, 14, 3 arrows. Now if it's mixed team, we have 2 archers, or if it's para, we have doubles. We don't have teams anymore. So in that case, for compound, we have 2 target face side by side on one target butt. For one team, same setup for the other team. All 4 athletes shoot together, 30 seconds per arrow or 40 seconds depending on what it is, para or able-bodied, and they all shoot together for the total score. Yes? The difference is previously, though it was clearly understood, like if it's mixed team, because it's 2 archers, so 2 targets side by side, but it was not clearly called out in the book. We have just made sure it's clearly called out and clarified. Target face setup for shoot-offs in indoors, and this is again the same thing that we were talking about for individuals. Now we have just one single target face instead of doing the CD setup and then shooting 1 arrow. It's easy from operational standpoints. Also, what we are suggesting, or this has been done in the rule book, is for indoors, we are not going to have A, C, B, D, but if it's 1 archer, you just have 1 column horizontal or vertical? Horizontal. Yeah, horizontal. So one column horizontal and they shoot in the middle one. These are considered from ease of operations of the FOP personnels. Change in shooting line space required by para team or doubles. This is just a number change in the rule book that we suggested. Previously, it's 1.25 per archer in para. So if you think of it for doubles, it's 2 people. So one lane should be 2.5. The rule book said 1 archer 1.25, 2 archer 2.5, 3 archer 3.75. And it said like for teams also it was, for doubles also it was 3.75. So it's a correction, yeah, it was just a simple copy paste error. So that has been corrected. Now back to 2.5. So for doubles, you can have 2.5 meter, like normal mats. Para under 21 age group with shorter distance in indoors. So I think if I'm not mistaken, it's a 15 meters. Something around 15 meters is what it was being planned for under 21, bringing it more closer than the 18 meters. Introduction does not affect our operations at this point big time. These are changes which are happening in walled archery to increase the footprint of the sport and make it more inclusive from that perspective. There is a new para under 21 age group that is being introduced, which will be shot indoors at a shorter distance. Indoor is 18 meter, right? So at a shorter distance from there. The idea is to make the sport more inclusive, have more people come in. I think it's 15 meter. I have to check the rule book.
I heard 50.
1.5. But I need to check the rule book.
Are there any distances decided for the under 15 indoor?
Under 15 no. As far as I remember, under 15 indoor also shoots the same. Because if you look at Vegas and all, everything is 18 meters. Under 9, under 14, I'm not sure if it's under 15. I think they have under 14 actually. Under 17, flight, junior, everything is 18 meters in Vegas. These are already there. I think Berlin, so last year I think they came in. You can have a look at the rule book. Yeah, they should be there.
There is also W1 open everything.
Yeah, it's the same. So that's classification that you are talking about. And this is like a new category, like under 51, under 21. Yeah, that's a new category altogether.
So outdoors,
It has come in the rule book.
I think so. You can look at the rule book or you can look at the Congress motions from last year.
I don't remember seeing it in the rule book, this under 21 age group, because if it's a bylaw, then
I think it's there. I will have to look, but I think it's there. I think it's there. It is there.
21 is all bylaws.
it's subject to 21.
Yeah, it's there. I think it's there. I have seen it.
Outdoor also under 21.
Outdoor also separately under 21? I don't think so. I don't think so. This was mainly coming from the point like if we can have more people in indoors, because we did not have any separate category in indoors as such at this point in time. That was the idea. More people coming in. Use of anti-roll device. Now, how many of you are clear on anti-roll device? Okay, not many. So I think, Carla, you have the anti-roll device. Cool. So Carla will cover the anti-roll device and we will talk about this. It's about the new bylaw. So previously, I mean, the difference that has happened is previously you could apply, it's used for wheelchairs, for the wheels not to move. Previously, it was allowed to have 4 anti-roll device, one for each of the wheel of the wheelchair. Now it's only allowed for either the 2 in the back or the 2 in the front. Like you can't use for all 4. It's just for 2. I think when Carla shows the picture of the wheel and the device, it will become clear. Just from a very high level, previously you could use 4. Now, even when you are using it, there is a criteria that to use the anti-roll device, the ground needs to be flat. So, sorry, the ground is not flat. So, as a judge, you might feel the ground is not flat. But if the TD and the judge, the chair of the judges, if they come and see the ground and they say, no, it's flat, you will have to remove it from the stabilization perspective. Change in position of bow hand, some of you, okay, VI, again, it's not going to be that important for you guys. The basic explanation of this is because VI is blind, they don't see the sight, so the sight is tactile based on feeling. There was a limitation on where the touch could be. It was not allowed to have a touch on your knuckles. Now that limitation has been removed because it kind of gives you more accuracy. That's it. VI previously used to shoot on cumulative scoring. They're moving into set system. That's a change. 3D timings, I think you will cover, David? Yeah, okay. So at a very broad high level, what changes has happened? Number of arrows that we shoot in 3D across different formats, like in the doubles, or sorry, not doubles, in the teams or in the individual at the ranking round versus at the elimination rounds, those has changed. And basis that, the timing at each category or each event, if I say it that way, that has changed. So I think David, you'll take care of it in the field and 3D part. Removal of mandatory nameplates in elimination matches. What it means is, previously, if you remember, there used to be nameplates to show who is shooting versus who. That has been taken off. The idea behind this is World Archery is trying to achieve more sustainable goals, and to have those printed, that means we are using a lot of paper. How are you going to identify if an athlete is standing in the right place or not? Of course, you can go at World Archery level, the judges have the PDAs. If you are not at a World Archery tournament, maybe a World Archery Asia tournament, if you have a PDA, you can go in the PDA and check. If you don't have, if the results is still being provided by Yanseo, you can go to the website through your phone and check it. If not, what we are doing now is the back number which is given. The back number itself has 1/16 target 21, 1/8 target 2. So that entire sequence, instead of the front, is now being printed in our back numbers. So you have one piece of paper serving both the purposes. That's why this rule, removing of the nameplates. It's a different way of working for us judges, but it's a good way of working towards contributing to the environmental goals. This is from NEAMS last year. What's the problem? If you look at the way the athletes are standing, and this is what has started happening in indoors, people have started moving forward towards the targets, and they're pushing the limit to go and touch the shooting line. Our rules say with both feet across. Does it mention that you can't touch the shooting line or you can't be there? There is no definition of that. But it's a big problem. Why? There was some analysis done by coaches committee. I don't know what model they ran, but they ran some model. And what they came up with is, if we do this and we are able to even gain like 20 centimeter or 25 centimeter forward, that's approximately 9 or 10 points. When I say points, it's basically the 9s which are hitting and missing the 10 ring. Because you are now forward, you get those 9s as 10s. So it's 9 to 10 point advantage that you gain. So approximately around 14 position gained is what they were referring to with that. This is why this became a problem. Do we have any rules so far? No. Huh?
There is a rule that says that the body has to be.
It says the body has to be over the shooting. Whether it has to be the center of the body has to be on the shooting line. That's the problem. We have never defined when we say over the shooting line whether it's the center of the body or just one part of the body. What do we mean by over the shooting line? So that's the problem that we have. We had a discussion. We are still trying to figure out what better wording can there be. We have not been able to find it because the moment we say the center of the body needs to be over the shooting line, everyone knows how do you judge it, and does that mean every judge has to go and like, let me check where you are on the shooting line. So how do we enforce that? We also need to be cognizant of the fact like it's enforceable by our judges. At this point, the advice is if you see something like this, you go and tell the archers that this is not allowed and you should be positioned center over the shooting line. This bylaw or interpretation, whatever be it, we are trying to get an alignment with the coaches, the technical and the target committee, and we hope in the coming days we will be able to bring this out. Well, wait and see what comes out, but that's why I am giving you all these inputs, like what's happening, so you know when you see things, how to apply them. If we see that it's evident that that person is moving too much forward, we bring them in the center position. That's why I am saying. That's why I am sharing what is happening in World Archery, so we know the same things in World Archery Asia as well, and we work in a uniform manner. The way we interpret and apply rules in World Archery by the World Archery judges, we do the same thing at World Archery Asia level with our continental judges as well. That's the whole idea of giving this new bylaws and interpretation, having this dedicated session. This does not matter to the archers who are actually shooting good, because when you are seeing this, all these are medium or average athletes who are doing this, because like I said, for the top athletes, it does not make any difference. They will shoot 10s. For the average athlete who are missing the target and they're just hitting the 9s just below the 10 ring, they are doing this to get that advantage. Resumption of shooting in alternative matches when the clock is stopped. So this has happened in, I think, Asian Games. What happened during the Asian Games was we had stopped shooting the team event or the team match in the middle of a match, and then when we resumed shooting, and the shooting was stopped when the crossover was happening or the alternation was happening, and then we resumed shooting, it resumed with archers behind the 1 meter line. The rules, I know it sounds a little bit difficult because we did not lose time if we think about it. We were supposed to cross the 1 meter line and then go in. But if we look at our rules, the rule says if a match is stopped at any point in time, it does not say whether it's between the alteration or anything. If it is stopped at any point in time, resuming the match, it will start from the line. We had a lot of discussion. Finally, what has been instructed, and I'm not sure if the interpretation is out yet, but there's an official interpretation on this which is coming out. If we stop the match, be it during alteration or even be it during the 10-second countdown, We will start, not the 10-second countdown, sorry, when the first 120 seconds is starting from that countdown. At any point of time, if we stop the match for teams, they are going to resume shooting with the athletes on the shooting line. That means there will be few seconds advantage that will be going to one team, but that is the guideline that we follow. Target 1, they shot 10.98, just for it. They shot 10.98. They have got 65 seconds left. You pressed, instead of going to team B, it has 120, right? So instead of going to team B, let's say the clock disappeared. Now the clock comes up. Effectively 120 is left, so they should start behind the 1 meter line. No. Because there was an interruption, they will resume from the shooting line. So they go and stand on the shooting line, start, countdown, shoot. Clarification on dress regulation and use of undersleeves. I think you are going to ask questions about undersleeves. So, undersleeves, the basic guiding principle is as long as it's the dominant color of the uniform. So, if it's if it's blue, and if it's not blue, then it's white. It's fine. Now, let's say you have Colombia, who has yellow as well as black. So it can be a black or a yellow. If it's 50-50, if I'm saying it that way, it's absolutely fine to have a yellow or a black. If none of those two, then you have white. That's what the rule is. Now, coming to the question that you are asking.
I asked the front orange, behind black. So you told me the front is.
Yeah, the front, but Colombia, if you see the dress, sometimes they have like the yellow and then the black as well.
But the front is very important.
They're
The front.
Yes, but one archery is left hand.
uh-huh. But the front of the left hand is still yellow. It's not, you are not changing the, but you are not changing. Yes.
Yeah, my question was that if, say, it's a team of Colombia, so you're saying predominant color may be yellow or black. Can a team of 3 members, one wear yellow, one wear black, and one wear white?
Technically, yes. Again, technically, yes, but not everything is how it is written. So if I see this, my advice to those teams will be, please have one uniform undersleeve. Either it's white or it's the dominant color. The idea is to make it look good on camera. So if you are using the dominant color for all 3, it's fine. Or let's say someone is using white and someone is using yellow, that can still be acceptable as long as it's not looking too bad on TV. Because for India, I know there was a case for India where one was wearing full sleeve, blue, and then others were having white undershirts, and there were some questions. Now, if someone is wearing a full sleeve and the others are wearing either blue, same color undersleeves, it's fine. If others are wearing white undersleeves, that's also fine, because we don't have any restriction on the length of the sleeve. That's the choice of the athletes. So, difference in sleeve and sleeve of your shirt and undersleeve color in a team is fine, as long as, and this is more of a guidance by working with or in sync with our broadcast and media team, as long as it's not looking too bad on TV.
Then the same answer if they have like 2 sleeves different colors, like just theoretically, like they
No, that will not be okay, because two sleeves, different color, means two different uniform.
No, I mean just in case maybe they
One
have
blue
like
and one white.
half yellow, half blue T-shirt.
Ah, okay.
It's yellow and blue.
Okay, you half yellow, half blue. Okay. Uh-huh.
Then can they go like the same answer will be like it's not like
It's yeah. So this one, yeah, so from my discussions with Thomas, where we have kind of aligned on in this is it's got to be the predominant color of the uniform, and white is kind of a joker. Joker as in, I mean, I hope everyone plays cards here so they understand the concept of joker, which can act anywhere and fit into everywhere. So it's basically looking good, and to make it look good, we use white as the joker rather than using multiple variations. Clarification regarding the use of tablets. So recently in para, there has been interpretation, recently as in like 1.5 years back, that you cannot use your tablets on your scope to magnify the zoom or magnify the vision. The whole idea was for athletes on wheelchair who can't bend and see the scope, if it can be made a little bit easier to show the scope, arrow positions by using the digital displays in front of the scopes. The interpretation was not the interpretation. The request was denied through this interpretation, suggesting we cannot allow to use electronic items on the shooting line. Now, the problem that we found here is there is an interpretation much earlier than now that exists, which allowed digital scopes. So digital scopes were scopes with electronic stabilizers inside of them to balance the images. And those elements were allowed, saying that as long as the communication is not there, electronics which are helping in stabilizing vision is same as using a PDA in front, which is used to just put the scores. So these two interpretations kind of contradict each other. We have highlighted this to the para community, and we definitely hope that we will be able to sort this out and simplify this in the coming days. It's the same thing. You have a mobile phone in front of you, right, in the shooting line. Now you can use it just as a PDA to put scores as long as it's airplane mode, or you can use the communication. The whole idea is to stop communication from the shooting line. So if you are allowing them to browse through things, it's the same thing.
No communication comes to them through via Bluetooth or.
That's what we want to stop. That's why we don't allow headphones in front of the shooting line, right? Who knows whose leg it is? Well, you have 5. You can't have all 5 connected with one athlete. The whole idea of this is, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't know, like this was a collage that was given to me, and I tried to identify. This was an Indian Sikh archer, I forgot his name. This is Sheetal, like you said. This is Mats. This is the guy from either Belgium or Denmark that I think he was in Paris as well. And this, I think, was from Costa Rica or Brazil, somewhere from there. Now, why am I showing you this? Can someone tell me why am I showing you this? Stabilization, yes, but the idea is if you see all the athletes, there are 2 different ways they use to draw the bow, or from where they get the stabilization. One is definitely the string stops giving them the touch with the ankle, as well as if you look at Matt's draw, he uses the side of the bow with his feet to get more stabilization. So the stabilization might come from your backstops, or string stoppers, or it can come from the side of the braces as well, like Sheetal has this, Mats has this. So that's the two areas how they're getting in. Now, so far, we have been looking at our armless archers as a very good brand for our sport. And I totally believe like they have done a great job. But this part has got totally unnoticed so far. And this came in after they all qualified for the Paris Paralympics. So then now the question was, is it fair to keep them going on like this? The answer was, because they have qualified for the Paralympics shooting like this, asking them to change their draw now will be unfair. So in all fairness, they have been allowed to shoot till Paris like this, but it's expected to have an interpretation, I don't know if it will be a bylaw, but something out which will give a full-fledged explanation on what is allowed from the ankle part. The reason is holding bows by arm is easy. You can easily see where you are getting the stabilization from. The flexibility of wrist is much more than the flexibility of the ankle. So what can be allowed and what can be what can not be allowed in that question. That's why we are showing this picture number 5, which shows if you are using the bow, the feet cannot be stabilizing on the side. It needs to touch the front face of the bow riser. Also, if you have bows which has got braces, or if you have got bows which have got cable stops like this, you will not be able to keep your foot like this in the front face, which means you will have to switch either to a bow, not either, you will have to switch to a bow, which does not provide you these elements. We have had long discussions on this, so this is where we are headed on this point.